So hi all. So this is just a continuation of your previous session only. So in this session we are mainly going to discuss about the third scenario, which is the most important scenario being a DevOps engineer if you are working as a DevOps engineer in your production environment, guys. So listen each and every statement or whatever I am explaining very carefully. Okay. So what do you mean by git stash? So git stash is nothing but git stash is a temporary workspace. Just listen very carefully, guys. So git stash is nothing but this is a temporary workspace which you are going to create for the developers, where they are going to create their incomplete statement. What does that mean by the incomplete statement? So again, listen very carefully. Git stash is nothing but this is the workspace or the temporary workspace which you need to create, where you are going to save the work of a developer which is incomplete or which is incomplete statement. What does that mean? So come back here. Let me explain you from this diagram first. Okay. The other again, so here there will be something called your git stash, guys. Just try to understand this one. Git stash. Okay. So stash. So you have to ask me a question, Abhishek. If already git repository is there, then what is the point of having git stash? Correct. If you are telling this is also a workspace, this is also a local repository, or you can say this is a temporary workspace, okay, for the developer, where as a DevOps engineer, you have to save the incomplete statement of the developer, correct? So listen very carefully, guys. So what developer normally do, they will continuously modify the file, right? Tell me yes or no. They will continuously modify the files, but when the job is, so do you really think that if a developer has given a module of a gateway to develop the gateway page, okay, so he's going to complete in 1 or 2 days? No, right? Obviously not. So if half of the work is done, suddenly this developer is, so this thing I'll be explaining you in the next upcoming session, when I'll be explaining you the you can say the master and branch concept. So this why this scenario comes, and this is also the real time question, interview question they are going to ask you in interview. Okay, that suppose this developer D1 is working on something, okay, one module, and he has to suddenly jump into the work of developer D2 because D2 is not available. The developer D2 is not available. So the manager is telling you go ahead and do the work of D2 because his job is more important than what the module you are working on, or what page you are working on, what code you are working on, right? So the developer D1 is working on some code, right? He's written some code, so but his code is not at all completed. Okay, so in that scenario, he has to suddenly jump into the other work. So at that point of time, as a DevOps engineer, you need to save his work. So how you are going to save his work? So you need to save his work by pushing his work to a temporary storage or to a temporary workspace, where his statements, that is what, his code is not at all completed, his code is incomplete, guys. Guys, are you getting my point? Yes or no? Correct? So let me show you over here. So this is the system, and you can see, let me log into the system. Okay, so we'll log into the same system. Okay, just do a sudo -i. Okay, and let me go to cd paytm. Okay, just clear it everything, and let me increase the font, guys. Okay, now if you do ls over here, okay, just see this one, guys. Okay, so you have done ls, right, guys? So what next you need to do? You need to run the call git status, right? Correct. So you need to see, is there any modification happened to this particular local repository or not? So as per that, what I am saying over here, so what you need to do is you need to create a workspace. That is nothing but that is a temporary workspace for the file. Remember each and every statement whatever I am explaining over here. So for the file, you need to create a workspace, for a temporary workspace, where you can push the incomplete work of this developer. How we can achieve this one? So just try to see any of this file, guys. What all these files are there? So we have done some modification to this file. Tell me yes or no. Correct? So this is the file. So these many statements are there. But if this file is not at all completed, the code is not at all completed. Okay. And as I said, the developer has to jump into the other work. Then as a DevOps engineer, how you are going to save his work? This is the interview question. The answer is Git stash. This is asked me many times in the interview, guys. So I am sharing with you guys. So let me show you how we can achieve this git stash and what all commands are there with the git stash. At the same time, there is also one more point I thought to discuss with you guys. Git stash only work for a continuously modified file. Git stash doesn't work for a newly created file. Remember, because developer is already started working on a file, right? And he hasn't completed that one. So what we need to do is, suppose this file is there. Okay, so I am going to open this file only, that is file 1.txt, guys. Just listen very carefully. And here I am going to mention at the end of the line, okay, anything you can mention that in, because the code is not at all completed. Okay, so I can write it, I can take it the code from anywhere. Okay, but as I need to show you, right? So in complete, okay, statement one, same thing you can copy, because these are the code which is not completed. Okay, you need to paste it over here again, and instead of this one, go to end, just mention 2. Okay, done it. Now correct. So as soon as you do a git status, guys, you are able to see file is modified. Guys, are you getting my point? Yes or no? And at the same time, if you do cat command for this file, just listen very carefully, you are able to see the content of this file, right? So in which case, I said it very clearly, when in which scenario you need to do this one. And this is something, this is a temporary workspace where you are going to push this file for a particular period of a time. So normally, for suppose 2 to 3 days, 2 to 4 days, the developer is jumping to the other work, and he has to finish this, the other developer, which is more priority. So in that scenario, you need to push the file or this particular file for a particular period of a time, right? For suppose 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. So git stash is used for that one. For example, suppose in a school or something, what we need to do, guys, in school, suppose teacher is not available, the permanent teacher is not available there, so there will be a temporary teacher will be there for particular period of time, right? So same way here also, what you need to do is, for that particular period of a time, you have to save his work. You cannot commit his work, he hasn't completed his work, so I am not going to save his work to the local repository with the git database, no. And even I am not going to push it to the staging area also. What is the point then? Git stash, there is no point of having git stash then. Why you are doing git stash? This is a temporary workspace where you are going to push the file which is incomplete statement, which is not at all completed, because developer is again coming back to you and he's asking you to bring back those files which I need to start working again after 2 days, 3 days, or 4 days, like that, guys. So in that scenario, how we can push this file to the git stash area? So let me show you how we can push this file to the stash area, guys. Okay, and remember, in stash you can push, or you can add only one file at a time. Even if you want to bring back that file, only one file at a time, you cannot push multiple files. This is a temporary space, right? For the other stuff, I'll show you, that is for Gitignore is there if you want to push multiple files. Okay, but coming back to here, for the git stash, what we need to do is, guys, we need to run the command called git stash, because this is a modified file and it's not going to work for the newly created file. Okay, git stash, if you run git stash, enter. So are you able to see something over here? Stash, working directory, index, state, WIP, master, and now the head is at here and created for file 3. Guys, are you getting my point? Yes or no? Correct, guys? Is this clear or not? Correct. So as soon as you do this one, guys, now what we are going to do over here, now if you run the command called git, so how you will come to know it is in git stash or not? So just now we have done cat and we are able to see the content of this file 1.txt. Now you do cat and just try to see the content of file 1.txt, guys. So are you able to see? Just remember, I said the continuously modified file, remember. So only these two contents you are able to see. Why? Because this is already committed before, and which one we have just now. Remember, this is why I have added these two statements: incomplete statement 1, incomplete statement 2. So you are not able to see these two statements. Why? Because it is pushed to your stash area, guys. This is what incomplete statement, because the first two is already committed. The first two statement or this file is already committed once when it is modified, but the next time when he done a modification, and you have to save the work to a local stash area, to a git stash area, which is a temporary workspace. So then these two statements is not showing. This is what proves that this is for the incomplete statements, guys. Guys, are you getting my point? Yes or no? So you can see it's not showing you, right? What is next we need to do, guys, over here? So how we can see the in git stash this file is there or not? Correct. So to see in git stash, command is called git git stash. Okay, and you need to do a list. Okay, you need to do a list, guys. Okay, so just try to remember over this, guys, very carefully. So this is the stash id. Whatever we see in git local repo also, what we have done is git log hyphen hyphen one line is the command, right? Tell me yes or no. So these are the ids, correct? By use of these ids only we'll come to know all the details of a file. So if you want to know the detail of the file or something, okay, okay, by use of this one, what modification you have done with the file 1.txt, okay, and you have pushed the file 1.txt, so we can come to know with this git stash, guys, are you getting my point? Yes or no? So same like commit id, git stash id will be there, same like commit id. So if you want to see the stash id, then you need to do git stash, and then you need to do a you can see the stash id, right? Correct. So if you do a git stash list, it's going to show you the stash id, guys. And if you want to see this git stash, okay, what we need to do, same like there only, like what we were doing earlier with your git log command. Okay, sorry, with the commit id, git show and the commit id. So git show, and you need to give the this one. So now you need to tell me, it's clearly telling, right, guys? Tell me yes or no. It's clearly telling for this file 1.txt with this stash id. It's clearly telling, right? These are the two statements which we have added to file 1.txt. Yes or no? Correct? That is the file 1.txt with this stash id. Correct? So this is how we can push the file to your stash area, guys. Now again the developer is coming back and he's asking to you how he wants his work to be completed. Okay, then in that scenario you need to bring back this file where? You need to bring back this file to the again local directory. Okay, so now you have pushed the file to stash area, you have pushed the file to stash area. Now again you have to bring the file into the working directory. Guys, are you getting my point or not? So because the developer is again came back and he has to work in his incomplete statement, so how you have to bring back the file to the working directory? To bring back the file to the working directory, the command is called git stash. Okay, and you need to give pop, and you need to give the stash id. This is why I said stash id is very much important, guys. Okay, you need to give the same stash id. It is same like your commit id only, and you can push only one file at a time, and you can pull only one file at a time. This is very much important. Okay, enter. Now you see again it's bring back to your working directory, from your stash area to your working directory. So you can see, and if again if I'll do cat and if I'll do file1.txt, so are you able to see all the contents, right? Correct, guys? So this is all about your git stash guide. Now what we need to do is just add this file. Okay, now you need to open this file. First open this file vim file 1.txt. Okay, now the developer is completed. Okay, the work he has completed. So instead of complete, I need to show you with something, right? Correct. So he has completed his complete code. He has done with the code. He has saved, and now if you do run the git status, okay, now you need to add this one, where you need to add this file 1.txt into your staging area, and then finally you need to commit this one to your local repo, right, guys? Tell me yes or no. Correct. So how we can commit what we have done? Modified the file. Okay, modified the file third time. Okay, and your file 1.txt. Correct. Enter. Done. Now do git status. Correct. So guys, this is all about your git stash. You see, see, whatever the things I'm explaining over here, it's all about your practice, guys. So if you really want to become better and better in your Git repository, okay, then you have to practice more. So remember one more thing I thought to discuss with you guys, okay. So you know who is the author or who is developed this Git repository? First you need to tell me who is the developer or who developed the Linux operating system. Linus Torvald, guys, correct? And Linus Torvald only developed this particular Git repository. So whatever the command you are executing, I'm telling you honestly, it's more your Linux command only. So if you are good at Linux operating system, these things will be very easy for you. Okay, so if you want to learn more about the Git stack, means if you want to learn more about the Linux operating system, so you can check my other course, that is Mastery in Corporate Linux with real-time troubleshooting. Okay, so you can see those things, man. I have explained my real-time production environment experience. Okay, because earlier I started my career as a Linux administrator only. This is why I'm very strong at this one. The reason is that one, guys. So this is why I'm able to explain each and everything, because where you are executing all this command, you are executing on top of your Linux operating system only. So this is why if you do a Git, just see why Linus Torvald has done this one. So if you do Git hyphen hyphen help, so whatever the thing you are able to do in Linux, you are able to do here also. So here also it is not, there is no difference. It's all about your shell only. So all commands it's showing you with the help of Git. Git is not something different. It is absolutely, that is what I am telling you. It's more of a related to your Linux operating system. So Linux is your foundation, guys. It's like your, if you are building your house, okay, and what thing you are going to do first? You need to put a foundation first, right? Correct? Tell me yes or no. So Linux is all about your foundation. All other technologies are revolving around Linux operating system. So this is something I thought to discuss with you guys, which is more important to excel your career. Okay, now coming back to the next point, which is more important, that is Git ignore, guys. So Git ignore is what? So if you don't want to track a newly created file for a longer period of a time, remember very carefully, guys, whatever I'm explaining over here. So if you don't want to, suppose here if you create a file called gitignore dot gitignore, just try to understand this one. This is not some workspace, this is not some area, this is just like a normal file, what is like file 1, file 2 or file 3, but this will be a .gitignore file will be there. Guys, are you getting my point? Yes or no? Correct. So what do you mean by this git ignore? So git ignore is nothing but if you don't want to track a file for a longer period of a time, and this is only applicable for a newly created file. So as I said, git stash is for just opposite. Git ignore is just opposite to git stash, guys. That is only work for a modified files, but git ignore can work for the newly created file. It doesn't work for the modified file. It is only work for the newly created file and for a longer period. Suppose one developer has started working on one module, and that module is not at all important at particular point of time. So as a DevOps engineer, what you need to do is you need to save his work for a longer period of a time, for example 1 month or 2 months, something like that. Then what you are going to do in that scenario, you need to add that file, the file in being worked by the developer, to under this git ignore. How we can achieve this one, let me show you. So you are able to see all the files, guys, correct? Now if you do git status, see is there any file? No, in modification now. So first I am going to create a file over here that is called your git ignore, guys. Okay, so git ignore, remember this one, ignore. Okay, and enter. So now you are able to see. Now I am not going to put any data over here. Just try to save this file. Write and quit. Write and quit means you are writing and you are saving also. You are quitting. You are exiting from this VI editor. Right, guys? Done. So now if you do git status, if you just do a git status, so are you able to see this file is there? Now I am going to create some new files. What all those new files will be there apart from this one? So I am going to create a file called touch, okay, index.html. Okay, this is one file. Okay, another file, again I should have used touch with multiple files. Okay, and again another file called touch index, okay, one, or you can anything, you can take it, okay, like gateway, okay, gateway dot html guys, correct, or anything you can take it, it's all up to you guys. Or you can see uh, lelo, okay, lelo.html, whatever file if you want to create, it's all up to you. So file is created. Now if you do git status, okay, so are you able to see these two things guys, correct? Now if I don't want to track these two files, just see how I can do that one guys. So if you don't want to track these two files for a longer period of a time, these are newly created files, then you can add this file into this gitignore. Gitignore is also a file, right? So how we can do this one? So you no need to open gitignore. What we are going to do, we are just going to do a echo. You can do it, right? You no need to do these things. Just put this one over here, and where you are going to put this one, you are going to put under gitignore, correct? Gitignore. Done. Again do echo, come here, okay, instead of this index you can put lelo, okay, enter, correct. Now you run this command called git status. Now you'll understand what is exactly guys, okay. Run this one. Are you able to see the other two files? No, because both the files have added to this git ignore file. Now if you save this file, okay, how we can save? Now git status, okay, as of now what we need to do, we need to add to staging area. Which file? Git, okay, ignore, add it. Now next what you need to do, git commit -m, and you need to give the statement that you have created git ignore and added index and lelo, correct. Where you have added to git ignore, correct, enter, done. Now you run the git status. Are you able to find out anything? Those two files which is already created? No, not at all, right? Why? Because those two files are added to under Gitignore guys. So this is for a longer period of a time. Now let me show you one more thing over here. Now we are taking out those two files from there. How we can take out those two files from there? So I am going to take out those two files from your gitignore. How I can take out from there? So you need to open .gitignore, correct? Gitignore, open these two files. Now delete these two files. So in Linux we have something called command mode, insert mode, extended mode. So in command mode you no need to go to insert mode. You just need command mode, just do dd, it will be deleted. dd, it will be deleted. Okay, just save this one guys. If you want to learn more about this one, then you can check out my course, Linux course. Okay, that is Mastery in Corporate Linux. So you'll come to know more about this one. Each and everything I have explained in depth, guys. Okay. Now, as soon as you have done this one, correct. So if you run the command called git status as of now you are able to see all those two files are showing again. Clear? Now you save all these files one by one. Don't do at a time. See, this is also one questions most of the time in interview they are going to ask you. What is the point of, see, if you run the command, you should have asked me this question, Abhishek, why you are doing add continuous for single file. So if you do for, you cannot make the things common, right guys? Correct? So if you want to add it, you can add it one by one only, right? This is what the command is. So that is what I am doing, and I have given you an assignment in the previous session also. How to, if you can merge a git add and if you can merge a git commit into a single file, how we can achieve that one. Try it out. Okay. So now here, what we are going to do is git add, and again we are going to give this file. Okay. Enter git commit. Do it fastly. Okay. What we need to do, guys, we have modified this file. Modified. Okay, git ignore, right? Correct? Tell me yes or no. Dot git ignore. That is what is the next file? This one. Again git add, and you need to give this one, and you need to give what we need to give, guys? Git commit, right? -m, and what we have done over here, we have created this file, that is index dot html, correct? html. And where we have done this one, guys? Just give this one, and you need to give index.html, correct? Done. Now what is the next file? Git add lelo.txt, enter. git commit, okay, hyphen m, and what comment we need to put here over here, created lelo dot txt, right? Lelo dot txt, okay, dot html, sorry guys. So there you can make this thing also. I'll tell, this is a typo error. Instead of lelo dot html you have put txt, okay. So this is also we can rectify with git revert command. In the upcoming session I'll explain you this one, don't worry about that one. Now if you do git status, do git status, nothing is there. So as I said, git ignore is only work for a newly created file. Now I am going to modify this file index.html, okay. I am going to put any data inside this one. I am modifying index for git ignore, okay, okay. And where I'm going to put, guys, inside your index.html, right? Correct? Done. I have modified this file. Now I'm going to put these files again where I want to put this file inside your git ignore. As of now nothing was showing. Now if you do git status, okay, git status only showing because we have modified only index.html, correct guys? Now I am going to put this file index.html inside your git ignore, correct, inside your git ignore. So ideally what would be happen if I'll put this file under git ignore, okay, this is the git ignore, enter. So tell me now, it should show only if it is git ignore, it doesn't work for a modified file, okay. So it should show both the files, right? That is what the answer is, correct. So if you run the git status, okay, so you are able to see both the files. So it means it's clearly working only for a newly created file. Guys, is this clear for you? Yes or no? Correct, correct. So now we can commit each and every file. You can remove the file from there, vim, okay, under git ignore, just remove the file from here, okay, dd, okay, and just save the file and run a git status now, okay. Now git add, okay, and just add index dot, because we have modified only this file, correct, because git ignore doesn't work for a modified file. And then git commit hyphen m, and you need to give modified index.html, correct, and your file name is index.html, right guys? Done. Now you do git status, everything is fine. So guys, this is all about your git stash and git ignore, okay, which we have discussed now, okay. And if you have any doubt, any query, you can write it back to me. I'll try to answer as earliest as possible. Thank you for watching this video, guys.